If you're waiting on the big announcement on how much the Padres are going to spend this offseason, I will reiterate, don't hold your breath. They still haven't told us last season how much they're going to spend. You have to wait and find out just based on what they actually do and the moves that they make in the offseason. So when I say we're going to talk about, the Padres payroll and budget, realize we're never going to get a final answer to this question. But somewhere in the, halls of Petco Park, there are discussions and there are decisions that will have to be made this offseason about how much they're willing to do and what they are willing to spend. And we're going to have some of those conversations here because, Woods, I think it dramatically changes the nature of the offseason depending on what the powers that be at Petco Park decide, particularly this offseason, in what they are willing to do and what they are able to do going forward.
I agree. And, we can talk about some of the potential ways that they can get creative as well. I mean, there are ways to get creative with what's out there right now.
So we started this discussion yesterday when we saw that tweet from JT Rogan about running into Blake Snell and Blake saying he'd love to pitch for the Padres, but A.J. Preller told him, don't know if the Peter Seidlerless ownership group is committed to significant future spending. And as I move forward, let's expand this discussion beyond Blake Snell. I would love to see Blake Snell come back, but he is just one of many options that the Padres can and should be considering this offseason. We have heard multiple times, Woods, that the Padres are looking to add pitching, and they are going to be exploring many different avenues, from Roki Sasaki to high-end options like Blake Snell. There are middle-of-the-road options. There are cheaper options on the market. There's a lot of different ways that the Padres could go, and it, I think, needs to be said that there are two different things that are true at the same time. Padres ownership deserves a lot of praise for the money that they've put into this organization, into this roster, and creating a team that we can be excited about and that has been competitive and has had a legitimate chance to win the World Series a couple of times in the last 3 years. It's also true that if they want to keep that going, they're going to have to continue to commit resources probably above and beyond what they're probably comfortable doing. It's just the reality, unfortunately, of baseball that when you've got a roster and you've got areas of need, you can't fill it with nothing. Every player requires money, and when you're already up against the luxury tax, your only choices are basically to take a big step back or to bite the bullet and go into territory that maybe the number counters, the number crunchers don't really want to see you go into. You know what I mean?
I do, and it's funny because I had just Googled how much money can the Padres spend, and it's funny. March 4th, 2024, Ben and Woods. There's a YouTube clip that says, "Do the Padres have any money to spend?" And this is March 4th of this year, right? So this is kind of us figuring out back then. The answer is, Ben, there is no answer, but the answer is clear. Does that make sense? You have to. You have to find a way to, and I know that momentum in baseball does not carry over season to season necessarily. That being said, you're going to lose some guys. You're going to need to replace not only those guys, but their production. That's not going to be able to be done on the cheap. I feel like you got pretty lucky with the moves that you made last year. That momentum also is not guaranteed to carry over. There is no crystal ball that A.J. Preller can say, man, I literally hit on like 9 of 10 guys last year. That's going to happen again. There's nothing that says you will. Too many, factors pop up, injury, whatever, payroll constraints. But I think when it comes to the fan base, the momentum is real. It's absolutely real. And may not go from player to player and season to season, but from the fan base, yeah, man, the momentum is absolutely real. People in this town salivate for Padres baseball. And you can't get that close last year feeling that, again, and we've seen maybe it's psychological warfare, maybe it's not, but you got Kike Hernandez, Dave Roberts, Alex Vesia recently, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. Every single Dodgers like, Padres were the best team we played. Padres were the best team we played. You took them on head-to-head in the regular season. You handled your business. You got to the playoffs. You hit the unluckiest, coldest streak you've hit all season long. You got to run it back. You got to figure out a way to run it back. If you're
pile on.
Yeah, if you're Eric Krupner and you're Eric Katsenda, because one thing I can tell you about the Dodgers, they're gonna. And I know you can't be reactive and reactionary to everything they do because you can't keep up, man. You can't. It's like me trying to run with Usain Bolt. I can't do it. I'm going to run, but I'm going to continue to run and finish the race. But I cannot compete with that guy. But I can't take my foot off the gas, even a little bit. I got to continue to go for it. You're pot committed, man, to so many guys. Like, you made this decision years ago. You got to stay in the fight. You have to.
I think with expectations heading into 2023 being as low as they were after the offseason last year, from everything, Peter passing away, trading Soto, slashing payroll,
was dire.
all of that, we all were on record, 81 and 81, right in that range. You exceeded those expectations. You took 2 steps forward, I think, from 23 to 24. You cannot take a step back. And a step back would be not continuing to add to payroll and stay as competitive as you possibly can when you were this close this year.
Yeah.
I think the injury to Joe Musgrove changed the equation a bit going into this offseason as well. You can't count on a single inning from one of your key and, more expensive starters next season. And there really is no easy way to replace him. Woods, you talked about getting creative, and A.J. Preller will always be creative, but let's say he's willing to trade Ethan Salas or Leodalis DeVries, which we don't know is true, but even if he was to pick up a guy like Garrett Crochet may be more affordable. He's not free, though. Garrett Crochet is still going to make a good chunk of change in arbitration this year.
$3 million.
Yeah, but you're already at the no, not $3 million. He's going to make 12. He's projected for only $3 million this year.
2.9, I think.
Wow. That seems low. I relook at that number again. But whatever the Padres add is going to push them above the luxury tax.
Spotrac got his estimate at 2.9.
Yeah, 2.9
for this year.
That's what I saw.
And then, all right, well, that is very affordable. So that's
here's the problem with
if that ain't
way you can
affordable,
go.
then we just shut it down.
He's projected. He's ARB eligible for both 25 and 26. Projected to make 2.9 this coming season. The problem with Crochet is that when you get him, there's injury concerns, but it's 2024 in baseball, right? It's every single pitcher. He's going to want to be extended. And I was texting with some buddies about it, and they're like, yeah, what we don't want to see is the Josh Hader situation. Again, they managed his innings really well last year, but when you see him pitch and you go, I want a guy that strikes out 12.9 guys per 9. I want a guy, Ben, whose ERA goes down the third time. The batting average goes down the third time through the order. He gets better as the game goes on when he's allowed to pitch, that much into it. He is a straight-up ace when healthy. And
all right, if you did that and extended
you'd have to
even if you
him.
backloaded it, that's still going to count against this year's luxury tax.
Correct.
So you're going into the luxury tax. I think whether you want it or not.
I think you're going to have to, man.
I don't think they have a choice.
I really don't.
Yeah.
To add any pitching whatsoever.
Just to address the holes that are on the roster. Left field catcher, you need another bat, and at least another starting pitcher. There's no way you can do that without hitting that luxury tax number.
The only path forward that I could see them staying under the luxury tax would be essentially making no moves, hoping that you're still in it, around the trade deadline, and then trying to add pieces for a stretch run.
Yeah,
that's a really risky way to go, to really underman your team for the first 3.5 months of the season, and then just cross your fingers that you don't have any more big injuries. You don't lose any members of the starting rotation. The other factor here is obviously Roki Sasaki's a big deal. I think he could be a franchise-changing player, a generational talent, and he comes as affordable, virtually for nothing in terms of your major league roster. But you also have to woo him and convince him to come.
Right.
And it's not going to be a great selling point if all offseason you've done nothing to improve your roster, and you're just saying, no, we've just been waiting on you to come and save us and, jump in our starting rotation and be our big acquisition. If I'm trying to convince Roki Sasaki to join my team, I'm going to want to have an active offseason where I am, improving the roster and showing, hey, we want to put a winner around you. We want you to be successful from the get-go when you come over to the United States. We don't want to put you in a bad situation. Don't put him in the situation the Angels ended up putting Shohei Ohtani in by not putting the right players around him. Show him that you're ready to win now and that he can jump in. And even though he's not going to be making the big money, he'll be pitching on the biggest stages in October against the best players because you have enough around him. You need to show him that.
Yeah.
And I think the only way to do that is probably to go and spend a little beyond your means this offseason.
Yeah,
and then you reevaluate.
Yeah, and show him you've got a shot. You've got a shot at winning a World Series in your first year and competing and all that. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed the Dodgers are going to make it back. It's not guaranteed that the Mets are going to spend $400 million, get Juan Soto potentially, and then make the World Series. Obviously, we know enough about baseball that there's just no way to handicap it. There's just no freaking way. But the one way that helps you is you sign as many good players as you can. You trade for as many good players as you can. There's really I see basically highlights of two players every day, and it's Leo and Salas, and with the occasional pitcher mixed in here or there, but it's DeVries and it's Salas. And the way I look at it, man, is Leo Dallas plays shortstop, and he's going to be your shortstop of the future. I'm hanging on to him. As far as Ethan Salas goes, I'd be willing to listen on Ethan Salas. I would. I mean, he didn't mash at high A. I realize he's a kid, man. He's 18 years old or whatever, but I'm willing to take that risk now to try to win a World Series in the next couple of years because, again, I don't like the term your window is closing because if you have a smart and creative GM, which we do, your window can always be open. But if you're waiting for Ethan Salas to help you win a World Series in the Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Yu Darvish era, that's not going to happen. It's just not.
There are a lot of pitchers available in free agency, but even the lesser ones aren't coming for free.
No, and they're not coming for cheap.
I heard Gwen and Chris talking about Mike Soroka yesterday, who was 0-10 with the Chicago White Sox last season, and yet is expected to make a decent contract here, based on what he did in the past, with his rookie season with the Atlanta Braves, coming off injuries. There's enough there that there's going to be a team that's willing to give him a decent contract to come and be part of their starting rotation. That's a guy who was 0-10 last year, is not coming like cheaply in current major league contracts. So you're not just going to find a magic bullet for nothing.
Remember Eric Fetty, who was pitching in like Taiwan or something and got a big offer and ended up getting traded? But yeah, man, pitching is at a premium. It's just, so I mean, I'm looking, people are like, I wouldn't trade Salas for anything. He hit 206 at high A last year. I mean, again, his catching I've seen him work. I know he's an elite catcher. I know that. But is he going to help you win a World Series in this current iteration of this team? Probably not. It's going to be, by the time he makes the big leagues and is contributing, our cornerstone guys are going to be. Then
again, we wouldn't have said Jackson Merrill was going to contribute to a team that had a chance to win the World Series last year.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Merrill's 3 years older than this kid. You want to wait 3 more years? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, and that's going to be the one. You also have to have faith that AJ Preller can find another Ethan Salas because he's done it. He's done it before. So I have no connection to Ethan Salas other than the hype, and I've seen him catch and do drills, and it's really cool, and it's fun that he was playing, in high A at 18 years old. But again, man, if I'm trying to win a World Series this year and I need to go out and get an arm, if they ask for him, I'm probably going to have to look at that, right? And because again, you can't just money whip a bunch of players. You're not going to be after the Sotos. You're not going to be after the Burnses. You will have to get creative to get a Crochet. You will have to get creative if you wanted to get Blake Snell. God knows what you'd have to pay to get Blake Snell. But the bottom line is they need to do whatever it takes to keep the momentum going.
It just feels like it would be very hard to stay on a tight budget this offseason without taking a step back.
100%. And again,
do you really want to take a step back right now if you're the Padres?
And I liked your point, too, about, rolling the dice and seeing what we have at the beginning of the season and then acting accordingly at the deadline. That's also an option, and it's certainly not one that's off the table. I mean, you have to look at that.
All right, we'll see what the Padres do decide on. And again, they
Is
won't
Colonel
tell
Budget
us.
dead now? Did we kill Colonel Budget?
He's not dead, but he's definitely willing to be a little more flexible than maybe in the past.